Pickle, enough about us talking about realignment.
Yeah, people are probably sick of that by now.
Let's go to the hotline, and let's bring in the voice of Texas high school football. You can hear him on the horn in Austin every weekday. He is our good friend, Craig Way. Craig, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, and Pickle, this should tell you how much Tep and I have been thinking about realignment. When Tep texts me to let me know that Gunter and Bishop are going to play a non-district game on August 27th, my first thought was to say, "Oh, we need to go down there and crank that one up for Texan Live. We need to do the Way and Tep Roman numeral 2 call together."
Yeah, I think I might know someone who can get that done for you.
Listen. Well, there's nothing. We like good football, but perhaps sometimes even more than good football.
We like weird
football. We like weird football. And Bishop and Gunter would certainly qualify on the opening Saturday of the season. All right, Craig. We got to unwrap the package, the UIL realignment on Thursday, and got to take a look at where the UIL had laid everything out. I'm interested, when you got your first glimpse at it, what was the first thing that stood out? What was the first thing that caught your eye?
The first thing that caught my eye was 5-4-AD1. And I guess that would probably be pretty normal when you look. I'm always one looking for some quirks and oddities in the thing. And 5-4-AD1 and what is it, 3AD1, where you have two current reigning state champions. I won't say defending, because we know obviously Franklin can no longer defend its Division II crown since they're going D1, and and China Spring can no longer defend its Division II crown since they go D1. So yeah, it's current reigning state champions. It does not happen often that you get them in the same district, and we had it happen twice, and that's why. When folks asked me they said, "Did you have fun doing that realignment show on Bally's with the crew?" And I said, "I did. It was great having everybody involved. Enjoy that." And they said, "What part do you like most?" I said, "Well, I got to be honest with you. There's a lot of the breakdown things we really talked about." I said, "But when Jeff and I were standing out there on the side set on the field thing, talking about other districts of doom other than 11-6A, it rings a bell. We've gotten used to talk about 11-6A, and it has its own doom-like possibilities. But those two in the 3A and the 4A ranks, those were right off the top of the page.
One thing, I know you're down there in Central Texas, in the Austin area. One of the ones that stood out to me, and if you want to talk, we've been talking kind of hard landings and soft landings for teams that were changing classifications. One of those is Dripping Springs. Dripping Springs is on the move, and it's not like they got any real reprieve. They get a move into the District 26-6A with Lake Travis, Westlake, a good Austin Bowie team, et cetera, et cetera. Was that something, I'm obviously not as cued into what's going on in the Austin area as you are. Was that something that everybody kind of saw coming, or did it come as a bit of a surprise that Drip got lumped in with those powerhouses?
I think everybody thought it was coming, Tep. It's simply because of the geographics of it. I mean, Drip backs up to Lake Travis. So it figured to be. By the way, happiest guy probably with that realignment, probably Hank Carter. Not because of the caliber of competition in the district. Hank, as you know, great guy, great coach, not the biggest fan of non-district play.
Yeah.
Not that he shies away from it. I mean, after all, they've got Arlington, Martin, and Steele for their two non-district games. But Hank is on record as saying, if we played 10 district games a year, I'd be fine with that. Well, he's got 8 district games as a result of it. That one didn't surprise. Let me tell you, Tep, the one that's got everybody around Austin buzzing is the veritable rarity of 3 districts in Class 6A that include Greater Austin and Central Texas schools. That has almost never happened. And to have Weiss and Hutto going north into that cobbled together Super Centex and Brazos Valley conglomerate, to put those together, that drew a great deal of conversation there, in addition to the fact that, 25-6A, it was pull Hutto out, insert Manor here. Everything else is status quo with the 5 Round Rock schools and the 2 Leander ISD schools that are in that district. So no big surprise there that they would keep that largely intact. No big surprise in that it was a 9-team district in 26-6A because of Anderson moving up and Buda Johnson moving up, but it is power packed, no question about it.
Talking Craig with Texas High School Football Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. You mentioned regional changes, and that was one of the places that my eyes went whenever we were taking a look at that and at the alignments. And to me, one of the real maybe hidden storylines this week, if people are marveling over the new districts and things like that, the fact that you had two of probably the most pound for pound most dominant programs in the past decade or so in Strawn and Carthage that both flipped sides of the bracket, Carthage going over into Region 2, I believe Strawn moving over into Region 2 as well. That to me, that is as big as, for all we talk about, oh my gosh, Alito and Denton Ryan are going to play in the same district. That's fun. That's not moving a defending state champ to the, from the NFC to the AFC functionally. Those types of things I feel like are maybe flying under maybe the radars of people who are just taking the first glimpse at it.
See, if you weren't living in the Metroplex and weren't a long-suffering Rangers fan, you might have said something like Astros to the American League off of the National League if you'd been a Houston Astros fan. But I get your point on that, and I'm in agreement with you. The Carthage thing, we've seen them in Region 2 before, and they're right on the cusp. They are right on that cut line. For Strawn to do it, that's the headline grabber there. I think you're right, and it makes Region 2 a lot more power-packed, and I think it opens things up even more so in Region 3. The other deal was, and this was something else we talked about on the TV show, the fact that you've got it to go back to the greater Austin and Central Texas area. You have three 5A Division II districts that encompass two regions, 11, 12, and 13, and that includes that all AISD district where with all the opt-ups with OBJ, a 4A state finals a year ago, playing with 4A numbers, the AISD opting up all those schools because the district obviously wants to keep those schools together for travel purposes and things like that. And then you have the 11 5A D2 one above that, and then the 13 5A D2, which will be in Region 4. And that one's wide-ranging because that one features Liberty Hill, and that one features Lockhart, and Vets Memorial, and San Antonio, and Bernie Champion. So there's a lot that gets put together in that. And that was, we were having fun with those zones of triangulation, as we called them, or as I called them, AAC on our TV show, amoeba area of concentration, because it looked like a big amoeba the way that it was drawn up graphically. So that's a wide-ranging one there when you look at 13-5AD2.
I want to ask you a little bit of another kind of big picture question about the realignment, because one of the things that strikes me about this alignment, Matt Stepp made the comment on our podcast about this. He said that overall, when you take a look at it, a lot of realignment was chalky. A lot of realignment didn't have some sort of massive shift in things. You didn't have things that we haven't necessarily seen before. But when the UIL did make changes, they went big. Like, they had massive changes that really shifted. It wasn't this kind of thing where we're kind of balling everything up and going from scratch. They took the template, but it does seem like, and I'm interested to see if you agree, it seemed like where they did make changes, they made big, impactful ones that are going to maybe reshape the way Texas high school football looks for the next 2 years.
Yes, they did, and Stepp is right on point with it. Here's some of the reasoning why. When I sat down with Jamie Harrison to talk about it, he said that, and this echoes kind of what Matt said, that he said most folks are going to look at it and they're going to nod their head and say, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. And then they'll look at some of them and go, wow, didn't see that coming. Part of the reason some folks might not have seen a certain thing coming is there's two factors. One are outliers. Outliers are schools that are just stuck out there and they got to go somewhere. I give you Lufkin. I give you Bryan, And Brownwood is another one, although you would say, well, it would make sense for Brownwood to go into, say, a district with Stephenville and La Vega and China. But here's the other factor, and that is not the official appeal petitioning to go into another district. That's in a totally separate category. But in advance, what Dr. Harrison said is we ask schools to let us know in advance, do you have a preference? If it's possible to accommodate the preference, then we accommodate the preference. Well, that's what happened in all three of those cases I mentioned, especially in the cases of Brownwood and Bryan, where he said they send us emails, we keep all the emails, and when we sift through it in the UIL, we see, does this work for the greater good? Is it going to upset a lot of apple carts? Brownwood wanted to go west. Even with all of the extra travel involved, they wanted to go west. And they got what they wanted. And Bryan did not want to be in a greater Houston area school district. So they got what they wanted. It doesn't always work out that way, but sometimes it does, which gets back to the original point of, you look at some things and it makes sense, and then some things you go, wow. Well, sometimes the wow factor is because of they can make something work to help out a school.
All right, one last question for Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer. We mentioned that this is non-district schedules are coming together fast and furious. People are looking for dance partners. We mentioned Gunter and Bishop as a strange non-district game. I'm interested in your time covering Texas high school football. Is there one genuinely head-scratching, bizarre non-district game that stands out to you that the first time you saw it pop up on your schedule, you're like, that can't be right? Because that's how I was with Gunter and Bishop. To be real honest, I was like, oh, they mean Bishop Lynch. Or they mean, Bishop Dunn. They mean one of the private schools in the DFW Metro. No, they mean Bishop down there in the Coastal Bend. In your history, covering Texas high school football, is there one truly screwy non-district game that stands out?
Anytime you have an El Paso school playing a Metroplex school, it's going to stand out. And for El Paso Eastwood to schedule 2 trips to the Metroplex to play South Lake Carroll the next 2 years kind of stands on its own. Now, for fun the other day, I saw the tweet and then I sent it out to you guys. I don't think anybody really locks in on thinking the Fighting Braves of Community High School in Nevada scheduling Dallas Lincoln is one that leaps off the page. Then again, a few years ago, who would have thought in their wildest dreams that Dallas Carter and Venus would be in the same district, which has happened before. So, there's been some weird ones throughout the years, no doubt about it, and population shifts are the reason why for that, Tep.
I think one of the things that I think about was, you remember for the UIL 100, they wanted to schedule Houston Heights and Cleburne to open. Yeah. And I think people are like, why would you? I mean, there's a historical aspect for it. They played in 1920. They want to do it 100 years later. But it's that time of year where coaches are scrambling to fill their dance card. He is Craig Way. He's the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. You can hear him every weekday on the Horn in Austin. And I guess I would say we would promote High School Scoreboard Live, but we're off the air for like 8 months. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and we will talk very soon.
Pickle, book the matchup. Tep and I will show up at the field in Pflugerville on the 27th of August.
Just for you, Craig.
Be great. There he goes. Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. Itching to do Bishop and Gunter. Be a weird game.
Oh, you want to talk about our brand.
Oh, yeah.
Weird fits that card perfectly.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.